Hi, I am Aishwarya and I have total 9.5 years of experience into product and design. I started with Oracle in September 2016 as software developer initially, and later on I switched into design team as a UX designer. I was always passionate about design from second year of my college when I got to know about this field, and I was looking out for the career options in that. And so while I was working as a UX designer and learning design things at company, I thought of doing certifications from Design Board UX School to learn more about UX processes and to understand how that works, how design for any product works. Post that, I joined Dassault Systems in January 2019 as UX design specialist. I worked there for almost 2.5 years, initially under manager. Later on, I was working independently as an individual contributor. I worked on almost six to six plus projects. It was across multiple domains such as requirement management, HRMS, value engagement, knowledge base, Salesforce, universities. So it was also into a tech platform. The users of those products were internal Dassault systems, so we also had access to users directly. And I learned about prototyping, UX design processes, and get organizing workshops with customers, talking to stakeholders, like how stakeholder discussion happens. So I learn about entire process there. Parallelly, I was also doing freelancing for startups in Pune, and I got interest in startup culture, and so I thought of switching. And Avoma happened in August 2021. It was seed funded startup, and I joined there as founding designer. Initially, I worked directly with CEO. So CEO was acting product manager, and I was working as a founding designer. And I worked on a lot of projects there. Avoma is basically conversation intelligence tool, so it records the meeting and gives intelligence on the top of it. Basically, for example, transcription, AI generated notes. There were certain integrations happening with sales features like CRMs, and the primary persona of that application was person who wants to generate revenue. So basically salespeople and customer success people. So I learned a lot about how cross collaboration happens, how I can lead the project as a product designer, how I can discuss the complexities with engineering managers, how I can discuss the AI logic with AI engineers. Initially, while I was working independently solely on projects, I was doing a lot of things in terms of like understanding the product requirement from a story set to creating final user interface designs. I also have contributed to design systems there. And in later phases, in last 2.5 years, we hired more designers in a team. So I was kind of leading design for them, assigning them certain projects or tasks, and set directions for them. So that was kind of my experience at Avoma. So I left Avoma in December 2024, and because I wanted to prepare for my executive master's entrance exam. And in January till September 2025, I was doing that, and I got freelance projects in Pune, consulting work in Pune with two startups. One was from Pune, one was from Bangalore. The name of those were Vending and Technologies and StreamHub. So Vending and Technologies was basically a vending machine platform, and they had a very basic set of design for their platform. So I was leading design there again. I created design systems, I understood their workflows, created designs for their main features like vending machine management, dashboards, warehouse management software, like that. And at StreamUp is a SaaS analytics platform, and same situation was there. So I was leading design again here, created design systems, also worked on the main features like how they can create default dashboard, how the dashboard logic works, how the like it is basically to StreamUp is basically a dashboard where you can understand the views of from views of users for OTT platforms. So basically it was doing those analysis, and user base was like person who is launching their series on any OTT platform, so that was their user. In September 2025, I left those freelancing and I started working at Fictive as senior product designer. Because of some reasons, an internal structure restructuring happened, and they asked me to put papers in this January. And I left in January 2026, and I'm again looking out for a job. Also, parallelly, I am also doing executive masters, which is masters in design from IIT Hyderabad. I have to attend those classes in the evening time, and I have to present my work by in one semester. I have to go once there and present my work. So that's how the structure is. This was all about my introduction, and I'll quickly present my screen to showcase to talk about my recent case study, and that case study is from Avoma. So basically, this is what I'll be talking about. AI coaching assistant based on the conversation record on the top of conversation recording. So yeah, what this is about. So as I discussed, Avoma is a conversation intelligence platform where we can record the conversation, have intelligence on the top of it. So this was basically for sales managers. So sales managers wants to do sales. They are recording their conversations, but they also wants to understand how their team is performing, how their sales representatives are performing in terms of sales. So for them, what they were doing in previously was they used to look at the recordings of their representative with customers and understand how they're talking to them in terms of value proposition of the product or in terms of anything pricing related things. And when while they are watching this, if they have any feedback, they are adding comment here. So that was their previous workflow, and their frustration was that this is very manual. I have to look into every conversation, add feedback, and basically add comments, and that's what their feedback was. So we wanted to automate this with the help of certain dashboards and with the help of certain templates. And this is about that scorecard templates, where we are setting up the scorecard templates behind the scene, and managers are getting to know the output of this conversation, how that conversation went in terms of dashboard. So that was it. As I discussed, that was the challenge, that managers had to basically evaluate their calls manually, and coaching with for their team was manual. There was no standardization. Basically, they couldn't compare between all the members, and they couldn't basically, it was harder for them to understand the coaching opportunities, like who needs what uh, to be taught. So that was their frustration, and solution was that we could transform this with the scorecard templates, and we could also present this with the help the information to managers with dashboards. So this is from managers perspective. We had different workflows for a representative perspective, and this is not about this that workflow. So design process was, I was the only designer working on this project, and design process was understand the user's frustration. And what we used to do for that is we used to listen to the customer success and sales calls happening with our real users. And Avoma was a recorder, we had good access to those recordings, and we could basically understand based on the topics they are talking, that these are the new requirements or these are the frustrations they are having. So from that, understand what users needs are, and then do the design process, which has like ideation, wireframes, information architecture and workflow, concept finalization, high fidelity visual elements. And then once that is done, we used to basically have feedback and iteration. So internally, I used to we had a mocking users, like internal salespeople. So I used to present my designs to them in the form of prototype or in the form of static designs, and get the feedback from them that what they are feeling on for those designs. And collaboration wise, I was collaborating with product managers, software engineers, data scientists, because it also had AI workflows, and sales team to understand what their needs are, and in the end design QA. So this was my role, and the total timeline for this project was almost 2.5 months. Initial setups, and then later on dashboards. So yeah, competitive insights wise, we got to know that from our customers, that whoever are coming from Gong and Zoom Info, they talked about this, that there were certain workflows like manager driven manual scorecards. They had something like that on the top of conversations, and even Zoom Info had something similar. But when we understood in deep, we got to know that they just had manual workflow and there was no AI workflow. And at in 22 23 AI was coming in picture a lot. People were starting to use AI a lot. So we basically thought of having manual as well as AI in first course. So this was our aim, that AI driven auto scoring, consistent and objective feedback based on templates, instant coaching insights after the conversation is over, for the representatives, performance tracking over time. So let's say for 1 month I want to track something as a manager, that was possible, and reduce the manual effort. So that was our aim, and this is what kind of we thought of doing, that our Zoom and Gong info, sorry, Zoom info and Gong are primarily relying on manager led evaluations, but Avoma focuses on AI driven coaching. So that was our aim. Data insights were that sales leader, we wanted to understand how many sales leader are actually listening to the conversation, and this was our data, that very less people are listening to the actual conversations and giving feedback on the top of it. And this was general data, that we analyzed certain meetings, we had these numbers, and less than 1% of sales calls are actually getting reviewed. So there was a gap. And also we got direct feedback from our customers also. So that was our starting point of this. Primary users for this was sales managers, but there were some workflows involved for sales representative in terms of coaching. So we'll talk about that in wireframe section. So this was our concept, that there will be settings part where managers can set up the templates. Those templates are automatically inserted into conversation based on certain smart rule engine, and then the conversations are getting scored by AI, and the dashboards are visible. So there were three levels of dashboards: overall level, scorecards or members wise level, and questions wise. So questions were there in the scorecards. I will talk about that in the coming sections. And there were email notifications. So that was our old entire concept about Avoma, AI coaching assistant. And we wanted to have different scorecards for different, because for AI to score, there was one thing different, which is a rule engine. So initially we started with manual, had that workflow running, and people were managers were using that. And later on, in within, let's say, 15 days or 1 month, while the AI team was working on the logic part, we also started, we also implemented this feature. And the type of questions were yes or no type of questions, 1 to 3 rating questions, 1 to 5 rating questions, and this was the scores calculation. One of the interesting part here is we also had a weighted calculation for scores, because let's example, agenda should be there in a conversation, but managers just want to understand if the agenda was there or not. So that question might have just 10% weightage, and value proposition is important questions, so managers might want to give 70% weightage to that questions. So that's why we had this feature. Information architecture wise, we already had these conversations. We had a settings part, and we wanted to implement that settings for scorecards, basically create scorecard templates. We also automated some of the workflows in that, so managers could create those templates quickly. And we also had default templates based on sales methodologies like spin, medic, band. So based on those methodologies, we also had predefined scorecards. Managers job was directly to come here in the settings part, do some rules setup, so that AI automatically scores the conversations, and later on just look at the dashboard and understand how members are performing. So that was the information architecture. User flow wise, managers could set up the scorecards templates in the settings part. They could come in the conversations and do manual coaching, but this was very less used workflow. The majority of the workflow was that they are setting up the rules and they are looking for the dashboards directly, and navigating from dashboards to conversations again to pinpoint that particular area. Second user flow was for members who are coming inside the conversations and looking at the scores received, and they can also look at the dashboards for themselves to look at the past data, and they could compare between their scores for past conversations. So that was their workflow. And this is for AI. So when the transcript and recording is available, start scoring. So that was a simple workflow for AI, user flow for AI. At this point, I wasn't also very sure about what attributes we need to have in this particular feature. So I started with balsamic. Basically, we wanted to have very rough kind of idea how, in which direction we are proceeding. So me and product managers used to work on this ideations and brainstorming. So you can see here this purpose, we were not sure how we can have this purpose in the in this particular feature. So what purpose is, basically it is a conversation purpose. So this conversation has this purpose. Basically it can be discovery call, it can be design call. So we wanted to understand if there is dependency on that. This is how the scorecard templates could be set up, like name, purpose, description, and there is this question possibility to add questions. And initially we thought of having fixed answer options, like if it is about agenda, no agenda, agenda is very clear, something like that. If it is about value proposition, similar thing. But later on we also understood from managers that the answer options are also very specific to what they really want to understand from that particular call. So we improved on this. These were the first initial dashboards because they wanted to understand which member is performing great, what was their last 5 scores, and it was the very first ideation. They could go inside that particular members to understand how they're performing in terms of those scorecard forms. Initially used to call it evaluation form. And this is about the coaching insights, how many conversations were coached, how many time was spent in that into coaching. That was this insight. So rough idea about how we want to press it. While creating the final designs, we had design system in place, so we could convert those designs, whatever we were thinking, we could convert those quickly into final designs. And this was the list of AI scorecards. For example, I've taken here AI scorecards and not manual. So this was AI scorecards, and this was the setup for part for that. We could set up the questions along with answers. So if it is the type of question is 1 to 5, then 5 answers should be there, 5 answer options. If it is 1 to 3, then 3 answer options. And if it is yes and no, just 2. So we could, whenever we are adding new questions, we could select those types. And for AI to score automatically, we had this rule engine where if the purpose is matching with the conversation, if and this rule engine has purpose, then score that conversation automatically with this particular scorecard. So that was our intent. And there were some automated workflows where managers, if they want to tweak some questions in default scorecards, they could import those questions from question library based on the methodology they are using. So that was for that. And scorecards into conversations. So this is how we could see the scorecard templates into conversations, questions, and select the answers and then submit. That was the workflow. Post submission, it used to look something like this, that this person has been scored with this scorecard and this is the score. Majority of the time, AI workflows or AI used to coach it, but we also had possibility to do it manually. So this is the name of person who is coaching. Inside the scorecards, post coaching, we could see what's the answer and what's the timestamp. When was that person talking about this particular question in that conversation? So we could jump to that quickly. So instead of spending a lot of time in watching entire conversations, manager could just scan this and click on this and understand what they were talking about. So it also reduced the time. So the initial version was just this before the dashboards, and we implemented that. But again, we got certain feedback that this is great, but still they want to compare between the representatives. And we started working on the dashboards. So this is kind of final view for dashboards, but I would like to also look at the other case study which is related to this for the dashboards, where we are looking at the granular insights with coaching dashboards. So the problem statement was that this is okay, good, but not sufficient. So manager's pain was that I don't have time to listen every call. I don't know which rep needs what kind of coaching. And sales rep pain was like, I don't know what good looks like. Basically, they are getting coached, but they can't see how other people are doing great, how other people are doing, if it is great or if it is not good. So they could take inspirations from other people also. So that was basically, they are evaluated but not developed. And managers' pain point was managers were overwhelming and operating on instinct, like they are doing coaching, but they could not compare between the members. So every member had a different coaching maybe, and they are forgetting what AI has scored. So that was also the problem. It was a fragmented coaching, no behavior to feedback, and no scalable feedback. That was the thing which initial dashboards were not giving. Initial output were not giving this one. And a cost of that was that it was again it was time taking for representatives to uh, understand what managers wants to do in that particular, like which direction managers wants those representatives to move ahead. Cost to representative, unclear feedbacks, and cost to product was basically Avoma was just, we didn't want Avoma to people to look at Avoma. We didn't want them to understand it as just a conversation tool. We wanted to have a revenue intelligence platform. We wanted to move in that direction. So that was also our thing. So what I did, how I solved was like I transformed those measurables and with trends, and visualize the coaching frequency, how many times they are getting coached. It also question level granularity to understand how people are doing for each area, each section where managers wants to evaluate them, and reframe the information architecture for the scorecards dashboard. So this was very first thing which I already presented in last case study, and the version 1 dashboard was very something like this, very simple. So we just tried having list of members scores and which scorecards they are getting scored for and when was they were coached. So that was simple dashboard, leaderboard, coaching insights, and scorecards insights. So this was the coaching insights, and this was the scorecards insights based on different scorecards. But then again, very plain and simple. It wasn't giving. It was a lot in terms of cognitive load. Uh, it was also prioritization problem. Like managers thought, where should I focus first? And it had scoring like this, but they were not understanding what was the problem. When was the last call happened where representatives were scoring less? So that was the thing, and I focused on those problems, and I thought managers should be able to take actions based on whatever the dashboard outputs are. So I reframed the information architecture, as well as I introduced some of the charts here, like number of times they are getting scored, average score trends here. And it was also for inside the members also, they could see this is my scorecard template and this is how I'm doing for that particular template. These are the conversations. The problem with this design was there was very small touch area, so if I'm hovering here I might miss and hover somewhere here, and this was again a very problematic for us, not working well. So I iterated more on it. So architecture wise it was good, but too many charts, again not a proper touch point, accessibility issues in the charts. So I again reworked on it. This is what our final version looked, where managers or the leaders in a company are getting to know the overview of this coaching thing. How many conversations are scored, how many number of times the conversations are scored, and these were the trends where it was AI scored, and if it is manual, then if it is given by others, or if it is self score. So representatives could also do self scoring to understand how they are performing, if they are doing it in a better direction or not, and looking at the scorecard template. So that was also possible to self learn, self coach the representatives, for the representatives. So top 5 manual scorecards by conversation score, top 5 AI scorecards, top 5 members by conversation score, and top 5 members by conversation scored by AI. So these were our charts, and the information architecture for members performance was something like this. So overview section is was there, members performance was there, and these were other 3 dashboards. I'll skip these 2 for now. So in the members performance we had list of members. These were the number of times they were scored. We could hover properly here and look at the duration and number of times scored by others. This was the average score trend, this was AI score trend, this was scored by others, and this was self scoring. Managers could go inside the members to look at the coaching performance based on the scorecard templates. In real use case, there were just one scorecard here to understand the entire performance for that particular scorecard. But we also wanted to have, if there are multiple, we also wanted to have that particular intermediate view. And the last view for this deep dive down view for this was that for that particular member, for that particular scorecards, list of all these questions. So this is the score distribution, like these many times representative is not performing well, but these conversations that member perform well in this particular area. So that was the output. But again, this is good, but they are not understanding from this chart that if they are improving recently or not. And this is where the trends help them, where it's okay to have less scores in the previous conversation, but recently they are improving, and that was the metric for managers to look at. Important metric for managers to look at. So that was about it. So managers could basically look at all the questions, and if that person needs coaching in certain areas, they could share some links, or they could basically do coaching on their own. So they could hover on it, look at the conversation, something like this, go to that conversation, and again share certain links. So it reduced the time for managers to look and watch the recording completely and give the insights quickly. So that was about members performance, and this is about scorecard performance, where managers are looking at the list of scorecards. There are basically manual and AI scorecards for managers. So in most of the cases, if company leaders are there, they can look at entire thing. But if, let's say, I am a sales manager, I might have just one or two scorecard forms. So that was the review for their scorecard, what's happening for them. They could go inside it and look at the question wise data for my entire team as a manager for last 30 days. So we had certain filters at the top. So entire team is performing this not very good. I need to improve my sales coaching here, so I can, as a manager, could share something with them. But that is again wrong. Maybe I can go in the members performance and compare all the members. So here they are understanding that some members are performing well, but some are not. So other members can coach the members who are not performing well. So again, it reduced time for them. So basically they could hover it, look at this conversation, share this link quickly with all other members. So that was their job. We had very good ideas to post this, to automate some of the more things again, like quickly add feedback here, quickly share those links with them, or add feedback, like comment here saying, you can look at this data, this is what I understood that you are lacking in terms of this value proposition, you can look at these recordings, and something like that. That was it. It basically, business metric wise, it basically improved the coaching adoption. It reduced the manual review time. It also improved the rep skill visibility, and it also had like a higher AI feature adoption. And that was our product impact. Customer feedback wise, we literally got really good feedback from customers. Like some of the customers were using this feature, scorecard feature, every day to understand, and that again helped to raise the quality of their conversations happening in a company. And this use case was not only helping the sales team, it was also helping the other people like HR team or maybe design team, and for that matter. So that was it. Before this feature, there were a lot of comments happening. After this feature, number of comments reduced. It also increased our revenue because we had a separate package for that, and that was good thing for Avoma also. And it increased in efficiency. We understood this from customer feedback, and KPIs we tracked. So we were tracking how many people, how many managers are looking at the dashboards, how many how many users are actually adjusting the default question scorecards based on their needs, and how many are navigating from dashboards to meetings. So those we tracked. We used Microsoft Clarity to look at the customer sessions to understand their workflows. So that was all about this particular case study, and yeah, these are the relevant links. Thank you so much. This was detailed, but I hope that is pretty understandable for you. Thank you so much.